Hello everybody, welcome back to Jared Opens a Box here on Jared Takes the L. And I have another awesome video for you guys here today. We are actually going back to Pokemon again. And I know, we just had a Pokemon video last month. We have another one this month. I think there's even another one next month. And that's honestly just because I am so far behind on the Pokemon Pops right now. Literally, as we speak, this past week, there was another wave put up for pre-order. So I'm behind. I'm trying to get caught up. But we have one of the newer waves with us here today. 3 new pops, and they are all really cool. So let's go ahead and just get started with our first one for today. And this one is actually wrapping up the Scarlet and Violet starters. We've already done Sprigatito and Quaxley. So now it's only natural that we would have the final starter Pokemon here, Fuecoco. This is Pop Games number 1030. And you'll also notice something with the newer Pokemon Pops. They actually have the Pokemon's name in other languages now on the box. This is a fairly new thing. I think they were doing that on the international releases, but in terms of releases here in the US, this is a new thing that they've started doing. So you're going to start seeing that now for these guys. But there is the side of the box, the back of the box, and this one doesn't have any of the others on the back, so no spoilers for you guys today, I guess. And then the other side. So there is the fire symbol, of course, in the back as well, since Fuecoco is, of course, the fire-type starter. So yeah, there is Fuecoco. Let's go ahead and open this one up. All right, this one looks really cool. So here's Fuecoco. I think they absolutely nailed the design on this one. Again, it's a little bit more of a simplistic one, like some of the other Pokemon that we've seen. But again, he is a starter Pokemon, so they typically don't have the craziest designs until they evolve, to their final forms. But this one is really, really cool. Of course, he has the Funko eyes there. He has this little, whatever you want to call this right here. I was going to say a mohawk. It's not quite a mohawk, but, you get the idea. He has 3 little teeth here, which I always think is cute. Does have little hands there as well. And then the feet and the tail. That's pretty much all for the design. I think Funko honestly did a really good job with this one. I don't really see how they could have messed it up. It is, again, like I said, not a hard design to get, so I think they did a great job with this. I do hope we get to see the final evolutions of these guys because I think they are really, really cool. But like I said, there's still so many Pokemon that I do want to see. But again, it makes sense for them to do the starter Pokemon from one of the more recent games. I assume they will probably move on to another set of starter Pokemon next. But for now, we do have Fuecoco, and I think they did a good job with that one. All right, moving on to our next one. This one is definitely a little bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting this particular Pokemon to show up quite yet, but I think it's pretty cool. And I do hope, again, that we do get the final evolution of this one. But yeah, it is Zorua. This one, apparently, the name is the same in all regions because there are no other ones down there. But this is Pop Games number 1032. Of course, the back of the box, or side of the box, back of the box, and the other side of the box. I'm trying to remember, is this, what type is this? I'm trying to remember what it is. I don't really recognize that symbol. You guys have to remind me in the comments down below. So opening up Zorua here, there is a base. I was gonna say, it looked like there was one. It was in a really weird spot. There we go. All right, we got that one. So here is Zorua. I think they actually, again, this is another one that they did a pretty good job with. Kind of hard to mess this one up. The one thing I did see, because typically Zorua has blue eyes, I believe. They, of course, just went with the traditional black eyes for this one. So, I did see some complaints about that. I don't think it's that big of a deal with Zorua. For the next one we're going to be reviewing, that might be a little bit different, but I do think for this one it really isn't that big of a deal. I do think they got everything else. They even have like this tuft of fur that looks a little bit like a fire. I think they did a really good job with that. The ears, well, those aren't really whiskers, but I think everything else is pretty good. You know, I think there's not really much else to say, but the tail, you know, if you compare it to what Zorua looks like, again, I think Funko did a really, really good job with this one and absolutely nailed the design. And I do, again, hope that they make the final evolution of Zorua a Zoroark. I think that would be really cool to see as a Funko Pop. Would be a little bit more challenging to make, but really not that bad, especially compared to some of the other ones that they have been able to make. You know, if they're able to somehow get Arceus to work as a Funko Pop, I think anything else can probably work as well. So, Zorua, again, really, really cool. Gonna go great with the rest of my collection. And honestly, it stands pretty well without the base. I don't think it really even needs it. But it does come with one if you need it. So anyways, moving on to our last one for today's video. And like I said, this one was definitely got some mixed reviews for sure. But we'll take a look at it here. This is Gengar. Pop Games number 1031. One of the Pokemon that everybody was super excited to see finally made as a Funko Pop. And then there is the side of the box, back of the box, and the other side. This one is a ghost type, I do know that. So I can tell you that just based on my knowledge rather than the box itself. But so with this one, the biggest thing, well, honestly, the biggest thing with this one, first off, here's Gengar. I think this looks hilarious. I think they actually didn't do a terrible job, but the one thing that I kept seeing, and I brought it up with Zorua, and I'm bringing it up especially with Gengar, is that they didn't give him the red eyes. And if you look at Gengar, you know, that's like one of his most defining features, is the red eyes. And they didn't do that. They just went again with the black eyes. And, you know, it doesn't really bother me as much. I can understand, you know, because again, it is such a crucial detail for Gengar, but I don't really think any of the Pokemon Pops have had, you know, the different colored eyes at all, as far as I can remember. Like, I can't think of any getting that kind of treatment. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me as much. I kind of understand, though, you know, because that is a pretty big detail to be missing on the figure. But they still did a fairly decent job. They gave him that smile. I do think they could have also done, you know, with the tongue sticking out, because that's another thing that I think of, especially when I think of him in Pokémon Tournament, which I still one of my all-time favorite games. I don't know why, but I was like one of his moves that he would use in that game. So I don't know why that just came to mind. But they gave him the little ears and everything. Of course, the spikes running down his back. And that's pretty much it. You know, the rest of it, he is just kind of a big purple blob, you know, so they didn't have to do too much else there. But again, like I said, the red eyes, I do think it would have looked better with them, but at the same time, I do think the rest of the pop still looks pretty good, so I'm not going to complain about it too much. I do think it looks pretty cool. So there is this wave of Pokemon Pops, pretty good selection of them this time around. Honestly, they were all really, really good. I'd be willing to say 10 out of 10 on these as well. I know Gengar is kind of, again, it's mixed, but I will just give the benefit of the doubt, and I'll just say 10 out of 10, because the rest of the figure is pretty accurate to his design. So I guess I can overlook that other, you know, detail for now. And who knows, maybe they'll make another one sometime down the line. I don't know, but I do think this was a really good wave, so I'll give them a 10 out of 10. But yeah, that is going to do it for today, guys. When we come back next week, we're actually going to be doing something that we've never done here on the channel before. We're celebrating an anniversary, so it's going to be really cool. We're going to be taking a look, just one pop, but it's a bigger one. You really can't tell what it is, but it's back here. But it's a bit cut off, so I don't think you'll really be able to tell what that is. But it's going to be something we've never done here on the channel before, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, let me know down below which of these Pokemon Pops is your favorite. I'll go through them one more time. We have Fuecoco, Zorua, and Gengar. So let me know which of these is your favorite. And of course, like I said, there will be more Pokemon Pops coming soon to Jared Opens a Box. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.